Welcome to Payoff Pitch, Action Network's Major League Baseball betting podcast. It is Tuesday, August 26th. I'm Collin Whitchurch, joined today by Kyle Murray of Roto Grinders to look at the Tuesday MLB slate. It's a fun slate of games today. Some intriguing young arms on the mound, as well as some old guys. On one end, you got Jacob Misiorowski, Hurston Waldrep, Parker Messick, personal favorite of mine, an ace like Hunter Brown on the mound. And then you have the geriatric trio, Justin Verlander, Charlie Morton, Clayton Kershaw, all on the mound as well. We've got Kyle Bradish returning from Tommy John surgery for the Orioles. Our old friend Patrick Corbin, always worth noting when he pitches. We'll be talking about some of these guys. Kyle and I are going to give out all our bets. Let's jump right into our best bets here. Kyle, I don't want to put any extra pressure on you here. Sean Zerillo and I went 10-0 on Payoff Pitch yesterday on the bets we gave out on the show. Fair is fair, though. I think Derek Carty and I on Friday went something like 1-6. So, if I call out our good days, got to call out our bad days as well. But we're coming into today's hot. Let's stay hot. Hit me with your best bet for today.
Yeah, there is a little bit of added pressure, but you know what? That will help me here, hopefully. Let's keep it going. Yeah. My best bet, Tanner Gordon, under 3.5 strikeouts. That's what I'm going here with in that Rockies-Astro game tonight.
Rockies-Astros, you picked the biggest mismatch on the board. Yep. Tanner Gordon against Hunter Brown, as I mentioned, one of the Cy Young contenders. We saw a Cy Young contender, the Cy Young favorite, Tarek Skubal, give up a giant grand slam to Shea Langoliers last night. Tell me why, what you're seeing in this matchup, why you're going on with the under on Tanner Gordon.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at the metrics that Gordon is producing so far this year, he's certainly not a high strikeout pitcher, 13% strikeout rate on the season. He's gone under this number in 6 of his last 7 starts, but he also has failed to throw any more than 78 pitches in 4 of his last 5 starts. So it's a good combination of, a potential lack of workload as well as just, a low strikeout producing pitcher. You factor that into the equation of him also having a pretty tough matchup here against the Astros, who have 7 hitters in their projected lineup with a strikeout rate of 19% or lower against right-handed pitchers so far this season. I think that just looks for a good pile of success for an under here. There's a little bit of juice to eat here, but I'm totally fine with this number at minus 140. So again, I think just the lack of strikeout production from Gordon, the potential lack of volume with that potential workload issue, and then the matchup have me on the under here for Gordon, under 3.5 strikeouts tonight.
Gordon has only gone over 3.5 strikeouts 3 times in his 9 starts. Funny enough, his high on strikeouts this season was 6 against Arizona, and that was the same game where he gave up 10 earned runs, 4 2/3 innings. The Rockies, man, they're throwing out. I swear some of these guys are like MLB The Show creative players who I've never even heard of until they get into the majors. So Tanner Gordon under 3.5 strikeouts, Kyle's best bet. For my best bet, I'm going with the side here. I mentioned off the top some of the fun young pitchers going today, and I'm going to hit on a few of them throughout the show, but I think my favorite is Hurston Waldrep of the Atlanta Braves, who's facing Sandy Alcantara and the Marlins tonight. I think Waldrep is a lock for the Braves rotation next year. I think that they're really excited to potentially pair him with the returning Spencer Schwellenbach. Hopefully a return to form Spencer Strider. We'll see there. I've been really excited to see what he's done in a few starts this year. Waldrep actually debuted last year. Got absolutely shellacked in, I think, 2 spot starts. His calling card is his splitter that gets a legit 70 rating from some on the 2080 scouting scale for some scouts out there. But in his cameo last year, his fastball was insanely hittable, so hitters were just sitting on it. They had something like a 500 weighted on base average against his fastball last year. Like most pitchers with an elite pitch, he needs to support it. Well, Waldrep ditched his 4-seamer over the offseason last year. He now throws 2 different fastballs, a sinker and a cutter. He has a hammer-breaking ball, and then the aforementioned splitter. Mario Delgado Genzor wrote a great piece about this on Baseball Prospectus last week that I recommend checking out, but Waldrep makes up for the lack of movement on his heaters by throwing from maybe the highest arm slot in the majors and putting a ton of backspin on it, and backs it up with a splitter that has one of the lowest RPMs in the league. So you've got a high backspin fastball and then a splitter that basically doesn't spin at all. When you think of the best splitters in baseball, you probably think of guys like Logan Gilbert, Felix Bautista. Well, Waldrep splitter is in that class. We're seeing it right now, early on in his major league career. Point blank, I want to back Waldrop when I get a chance right now. Alcantara is coming off maybe his 2 best starts of the season for the Marlins, and this is a matchup of 2 teams with nothing to play for at this point in the season. But I have confidence that the Braves offense, which is still good despite the team's issues, can get to Sandy, while I have no confidence Miami's going to be able to hit Waldrop. Really excited to see what he does over this last month of the season going into next year. As I usually do when I'm backing the Braves, though, I want to remove their bullpen from the equation entirely. So I'm on the Braves' first 5 money line tonight, coming in around minus 130. Let's move on to underdogs or plus money props, as is the case today. For you, Kyle, you are going with a home run prop in Nationals Yankees, Mackenzie Gore against Louis Gil. Tell us about your plus money prop today in Nationals Yankees.
Yeah, I did consider just taking the Nationals first 5 as a plus money prop or just full game money line. But then I figured why not have a little bit of fun here and take James Wood plus 350 for a home run. I know it has been quite a significant downside for James Wood since the All-Star break. I think he entered the break with like 21 or 22 home runs, and I think he's like 26 or 27 on the year now. So obviously it's been a slow second half for James Wood. But I mean, I still think this is a guy who obviously has plenty of power, plenty of pop in that bat, and I think that'll only be amplified playing in the Little League ballpark that is Yankee Stadium, especially for those lefties. Luis Hill, I think, obviously is somebody who has plenty of swing and miss upside when you look at his, splits against right-handed hitting. But I do have some concerns there against lefties. Obviously, last season we saw him post a 29% CSW against righties. That number dropped to 25% against lefties. So this is a spot against a guy like James Wood, who his main issue is swinging and missing. Is a 32% strikeout rate. Usually, when he makes contact, it's usually going to be something that is pretty significant with some power. So I think this is actually a good matchup for James Wood, who the only main issue that I could have here with the home run prop is he has a 13% walk rate. Obviously, we know that Luis Hill is plenty of capable of walking hitters, but nonetheless, I do like James Wood and his home run upside here. 225 ISO on the season against right-handed pitching, and last season we saw him produce a 188 ISO against lefties. So I do think that there is some upside here with James Wood, especially at a plus 350 number that I do think is a bit of a discount considering how bad Wood's home run production has been in the second half. But again, that ballpark upgrade I think is one that should be massive here for a guy like James Wood, that lefty in that short fence in right field.
Yeah, man, Wood since the All-Star break, 209, 274, 328. 2 home runs, as you mentioned, 61 strikeouts in 146 plate appearances. He's always been a high strikeout guy, but I think if there's one thing the Nationals are going to tell him to work on this offseason, it's maybe preparing for playing a full 162 because he seems to have hit a rookie wall. But as you said, sometimes that provides us with a discount. He still has the power. I don't think he's going to go the rest of the year without a home run. And as you mentioned, Yankee Stadium is as good a park as any for him to get it. My favorite underdog today, I'm cheating a little bit right now. I feel like I couldn't really find a plus money underdog, a true plus money underdog to back today. I'm going with the Mets here against the Phillies. They're around minus 105, so it's not plus money, but they are underdogs. Phillies around minus 115. The Mets pretty much need to win out against the Phillies in their head-to-head matchups at this point to have any shot in the NL East. They got off to a solid start last night by bombing Christopher Sanchez, who had a surprisingly bad outing in the Philly bullpen in a 13-3 win. They've also now opened up a bit of a cushion with a 2.5 game lead now over the Reds for the last wildcard spot. This is a situation where I'm looking at recent form of the 2 starting pitchers and going in the other direction of where the market likely is. In fact, as of this writing, 89% of the bets are on the Phillies, 69% of the money's on the Phillies, so there is a 21% difference there toward the Mets in terms of sharp money indicators. Jesus Luzardo has been so incredibly feast or famine for the Phillies this year. He's coming off one of his best starts of the year against Seattle, where he struck out 12, gave up just 1 run in 6 innings. Sean Manaea, on the other hand, has had an incredibly rough August with an ERA over 7 this month. He gave up 4 runs in 4 2/3 innings last time out against the Nationals. A couple of things make me like the Mets tonight. One is that Manaea is a way better pitcher than his 5.15 ERA would indicate. His expected run suppression numbers are all the way are more than a run lower in the threes. His BABIP is way higher than it was last year, and his strikeout numbers are way up. His walk numbers are way down. I think Manaea is going to be fine, and he puts the Phillies in their worst split tonight as well, being a left-handed pitcher. Luzardo, to be fair, also puts the Mets in their worst split, as this is the best offense in baseball against right-handed pitching based on WRC+, completely average against lefties. While I'm usually hesitant to find arbitrary cutoff points for stats, it's worth noting that the Mets have a 134 weighted runs created plus against Southpaw since the All-Star break, which is a time frame that is more indicative of what the lineup looks like right now with the team in its current form post-trade deadline. I think the Mets have the better starting pitcher in this matchup, and I like their offense's chances against Luzardo better than the Phillies' chances against Manaea. I'm on the Mets tonight, minus 105, as I mentioned. I'm also betting the over in this game at 8.5, just because these bullpens are both untrustworthy. And if Manaea runs into more bad luck, more of the bad luck that he's seen this month, it'll be a nice little boost if the Phillies have a high-scoring game as well. So Mets money line, minus 105, over 8.5. Kyle, I'll jump ahead here a little bit because you have a prop on this game as well. You're betting a Sean Manaea strikeout prop tonight, if you want to talk about that.
Yeah, I think the breakdown that you had on Manaea, I think, was pretty spot on. Obviously, he has struggled this month. He's allowed 4 or more earned runs in all 4 of his August starts so far. But in July, he was really good. He allowed just 1 run in each of his 4 July starts. So the prop that I'm taking here is Sean Manaea over 5.5 strikeouts. And that's simply because I think it's a spot where we're going to continuously see more pitches for Manaea. That's sort of been the case through 91 pitches, which was a season high in his last start. And as a result, he did have a season high 8 strikeouts. He had 7 strikeouts in his start prior to that, so 7+ strikeouts in each of his last 2 starts. You mentioned the split here for the Phillies lineup against lefties. 23.8% strikeout rate combined in this projected lineup against lefties so far this season against Southpaws for the Phillies. So I think it's a good matchup for him here. And I also think it's a spot where, potential playoff atmosphere. You mentioned, the Mets needing to pretty much win out against the Phillies in their head-to-head in order to have a chance there. So I think it's a spot where we could potentially see Manaea worked up to 95 plus pitches. I don't think that's a lock or anything like that, but I think it is at least certainly in the range of outcomes and adding more value to a spot where I have him projected for right around 6.5 strikeouts. So clearly I like this number as is. So any other additional angles only are sprinkles here. So I like Manaea over 5.5 strikeouts due to the matchup and potential workload increase, but also just a guy who, even if he is out there for a limited time, he has plenty of strikeout upside. 28% strikeout rate on the season. So again, when you look at the CSW number, about 28%, it's probably a number that could potentially come down a bit, but we still know he's a high strikeout guy and a guy who I think we could see some more volume from him here in this match against the Phillies. So I'm taking him over 5.5 strikeouts.
If you're looking for a same game parlay on Phillies Mets tonight, you want to throw my 2 bets and Kyle's 1 bet into an SGP. Mets money line over 8.5, Manaea over 5.5 strikeouts. That pays 5-1 right now at DraftKings. Obviously, shop around for the best line, but if you're the type who likes same game parlays, that might be a direction you want to go. Football season is here, folks. We've got some huge improvements and updates coming on the award-winning Action Network app, which we're very excited to discuss in the weeks ahead. But to get the most out of the app, you'll still need to be an Action Pro subscriber. It's only with Action Pro you get real-time pick alerts from me, Kyle, Sean Zarillo, the entire Action Network team of experts. Plus, you can access pro projections powered by Sean Kerner and our predictive analytics team, and a ton of other benefits. And right now, Payoff Pitch listeners can save $20 off the annual price of Action Pro. Just go to actionnetwork.com/pro and use code PAYOFF20. It's actionnetwork.com/pro, code PAYOFF20 for $20 off the annual price of Action Pro. We've got Grant Neiffer of Scores and Odds on deck to give us some of his favorite dinger picks from today's slate. But Kyle and I both have a slew of other bets we want to rip off before we get there. Kyle, I'll kick it to you first. You are on the Twins versus Blue Jays game. Bailey Ober, Twins, lost season for them at this point. I saw them the other day in Chicago, went on Sunday to White Sox Twins, a 8-0 win for the White Sox. And now they're going to Toronto where they can get their brains beat in again by the contending Blue Jays. talk about your pitching prop you're on in this one.
Yeah, I'm taking the under on Bailey Ober's strikeout prop at 4.5. I do believe this number, is potentially a spot where they probably could make a case for pricing it at 3.5, but it's just a tough number to see for guys who have the ability to go super deep into games. And, Bailey Ober obviously coming off of a 7 strikeout performance, but so it is at minus 180 on some books. I probably don't love it there, but you can get it at minus 150, minus 155 on some other books. So I would highly recommend shopping around for the best number there. But tough matchup here. Typically, this MLB season, especially the last month or two, the first thing I look at is who the Blue Jays are facing because they are just such a low strikeout rate team. In the projected lineup, 17% combined strikeout rate against righties so far this season. And pretty much everyone in the lineup has a pretty good sample as well. You have Dalton Varsho who strikes out 29% of the time, Addison Barges at 23% of the time. But after that, everybody else is at 17.5% or lower against right-handed pitching. I've had a lot of success, fading pitchers against the Blue Jays. I'm going to do so again here. I got this number last night at minus 150. So again, probably at minus 180. I'm not loving an under on a strikeout prop, especially if you are limited anywhere. But I would say, at minus 150, minus 155, certainly still like that number there. I'm Bailey Ober under 4.5 Ks.
With my next bet, I'm going to Baltimore for Red Sox Orioles. As I mentioned, Kyle Bradish making his first start since early last season. Tonight, he was returning from Tommy John surgery against Lucas Giolito and the Red Sox. I took a shot last week at fading another ace coming back from Tommy John in Shane Bieber. That did not go well. He absolutely shoved and pitched deep into the game in his return for the Blue Jays. But I'm going back to the well here with Bradish, simply fading him going deep into tonight's game. He did make 6 rehab starts at Norfolk and AAA. In his final outing, he threw 89 pitches, but only went 4 2/3 innings. So I do think the Orioles are going to be cautious with him, especially as a team with nothing to play for. The Orioles notoriously do not spend money on pitching, so they really need a healthy Bradish entering the 2026 season. They're going to play it safe with him and help him shake off the rust this final month of the season. So I like Bradish under 15.5 outs tonight. Very juicy. You're going to have to swallow a lot of juice, but you can get it right around minus 186 right now. I do think there's value here all the way up to probably minus 210 or so. Next bets coming up from us are actually from the same game. We're going on 2 different starting pitchers in Diamondbacks Brewers. As I mentioned, Jacob Mizorowski on the mound from Milwaukee, one of the hottest young pitchers in baseball. Brandon Pfaadt for the Diamondbacks. I'll go with my bet first, and then Kyle can tell you his bet on his pitcher. And while he's doing that, I'll look up what we can do if we same game parlay these in Diamondbacks. Brewers tonight. The bubbles burst a little bit on Miz Mania from Milwaukee. That's where my bet's going since his return from injury. Some of the warts that were apparent on his resume as one of the top pitching prospects in the sport have reared their head. Mizorowski has always had elite stuff, but the problem is sometimes he doesn't know where the ball is going. He has walked 3 batters in each of his last 2 outings, both of which saw him get shelled by the Reds and Cubs. In the Reds game, he also hit a batter, and 3 starts ago, he walked 2 and threw a wild pitch. The Miz is wild right now, but I'm actually fading him in the strikeout department tonight. We saw his insanely elite K upside earlier this season. 12 strikeouts against the Dodgers in early July. Tons of strikeouts early in the season, which led to his, for some, controversial addition to the NL All-Star team. Last couple of starts, he struggled to miss bats. I think he's running into a little bit of fatigue, a little bit of some mechanical inconsistency. He induced just 5 swinging strikes against the Cubs and 2 against the Reds, striking out 5 and 3 respectively in those games. Maybe he rights the ship here against the Diamondbacks, but they're only middle of the pack in strikeout rate against right-handed pitching. So I'm going to keep fading the Miz until he shows that he's turned things around. I think it might be a rough ending to the season for him. The Brewers have a lot of pitching depth, obviously, going into October. Not sure what we'll get out of him in October for the Brewers, but going to keep fading him until he turns it around. So the fact that you can get plus juice on this prop is just an added boost. I'm betting Jacob Mizorowski under 5.5 strikeouts, which you can get around plus 110. We're both fading the starting pitchers in this game. Kyle, why don't you go into your Brandon Pfaadt prop tonight?
Yeah, for Pfaadt, he's been a guy who I've sort of been picking on against teams who have significantly heavier left-handed lineups, just because his strikeout rate goes down to 17% compared to 21% against righties. But more importantly, the CSW all the way down to 23% against lefties. This Brewers team has a projected lineup with 5 lefties in it currently. But when you look at the righties that he's going to see, you're looking at guys like Caleb Durbin, who have an 11% strikeout rate, Andrew Vaughn, who's at 19%, William Contreras at 17%. So obviously you're going to have 5 lefties, probably 4 to 6 lefties in the lineup, and then a couple low strikeout rate right-handed hitters in this lineup. So I like the under on 4.5 strikeouts for Brandon Pfaadt, who again does struggle to produce swings and misses against lefties the same way he does against righties. And 3 of the 4 righties that he's likely going to see are going to be low strikeout guys. So again, this number is looking pretty good, especially at plus money, plus 104 on some of these books here. So again, Brandon Pfaadt under 4.5 strikeouts is going to be a bet that I'm on tonight.
Plus 288 at DraftKings if you want to bet the unders on both The Miz and Pfaadt in Milwaukee tonight. I've got 2 more bets. They come from the same game, so I'll lump them together. Pirates-Cardinals tonight with Mitch Keller on the mound. I saw Mitch Keller's outs recorded line set at 17.5 this morning. That was absolutely wild to me. Once again, had me looking around, trying to poke holes in some of these stats, like what am I missing here? I think what books are doing is they're taking into account that the Cardinals have been ice cold this month, especially against right-handed pitching. They also have one of the lowest walk rates in the sport against right-handed pitching. So it's kind of a stoppable force versus a movable object kind of matchup tonight, as Keller has walked at least 2 in 5 of his last 6 starts, and at least 3 in 4 of 6 starts. More importantly for this prop, he hasn't recorded more than 17 outs in any of his last 5 starts. I think fatigue is setting in for him. I talked about this last week with Sean Zerillo. Second half fade for Keller has been a career-long thing. His ERA is like 1.7 runs higher in the second half of the season than it is in the first half. And we're seeing that this month. August is by far the worst month of his career. It's a weird split to look at and try to find predictive analysis in when betting baseball props. But I just think he gets tired. I don't think he has the stamina to pitch a full season effectively. Last time out, he gave up 5 runs in just 3 1/3 innings against Toronto. Despite the Cardinals' offensive woes this month and against right-handed pitching, I have enough faith that they can get to Keller tonight just because I think he's going to be wild. When he lives in the zone, he's increasingly hittable. Like I did with Mets Phillies, I'm also tossing in a bet on the over here for the full game. It's always risky to bet on the Pirates offense, but I'm not a believer in Andre Palante. So I'll be fading both pitchers here. Keller 2 ways by going under 17.5 outs on him at minus 110, and then the full game over 8. Kyle, one last bet for you before we throw it to Grant. You started this show by giving us a prop in Rockies Astros, and you will end it here by going to the other side of this insane mismatch of Tanner Gordon against Hunter Brown.
Yeah, definitely a mismatch here. When I was doing my strikeout projections last night, saw Hunter Brown projected right around 7.5 strikeouts. I sort of assumed this would be a spot where the line was at 6.5 with some heavy juice on it on some books. But you can actually do some pretty nice odd shopping here. Minus 130, minus 135 on some books, but down to minus 106, minus 108 on others. So definitely try to find the best number there for Hunter Brown. But I think we're just getting a bit of a discount here as he's been held to 6 or fewer strikeouts in each of his last 5 starts. But this is a great time for him to bounce back. I do prefer Hunter Brown against teams with left-handed heavy lineups. That is not going to be the case here for the Rockies, but they're certainly a high strikeout team nonetheless. A lineup with 6 hitters striking out 24% of the time or more. 5 of those hitters are at 26% or higher strikeout rates against right-handed pitching so far this season, and a combined strikeout rate in this lineup, this projected lineup, of about 24%. So it's a good matchup here for Hunter Brown against the Rockies. I think he can sort of pick away at some of these high strikeout hitters and take the over 6.5 strikeouts for Hunter Brown.
Plus 176 at DraftKings if you want to throw the Brown over and the Gordon under in an SGP, if that's how you like to play things. We just gave you 13 bets on 15 games, but we're not done, because before we get out of here, let's toss it over to Grant Neiffer of Scores and Odds to bring us his favorite home run props for this beautiful Dinger Tuesday.
What's up, everyone? Thanks, guys. Dinger Tuesday, 50% profit boost over on FanDuel. I got a 3-leg absolute banger today, 177 to 1 odds. Let's get started with the first leg. Matt Wallner. He gets a matchup versus Chris Bassett. You can get him around plus 425, plus 450, but with that boost goes up to plus 470. Wallner gets a matchup versus Bassett, who's been crushed by lefty power over the past few seasons. 1.5 home runs per 9 over the last two home runs per 9 back in 2023. So he's had some pretty heavy splits. The ballpark is an upgrade for Wallner here. He's been fantastic this season. 19 bombs in 84 games with great underlying numbers. The odds are just far too high on him here today. I'm rolling with it. Next up, Wyatt Langford. Langford's been real up and down so far this season. Ballpark, not great, obviously, but he gets a match versus Kikuchi. Kikuchi has been crushed by righty power for years and years and years. One of the best matchups for righty power over the course of his career. He has been better this year, but he's regressed recently, and he's due for some negative regression. I think he's in a spot where he could absolutely crush here with Langford hitting the ball against Kikuchi. Last up, Nick Kurtz, plus 290 over at FanDuel. Kurtz gets a matchup versus Morton. Morton has been up and down this season. It's historically been a better matchup for lefty power. This season been a little bit better for righty power, but he's been much worse since the All-Star break. 1.79 home runs per 9 since the All-Star break. The ballpark is fantastic, obviously, over in Sacramento. Temperatures, great, mid-80s, wind blowing out at 9 miles an hour, so the ball should be flying. The odds are a little low on Kurtz today, but they're not nearly low enough given the matchup. I have his true odds around plus 240 today. All right, guys, that's it. Parlay them all together. Use that Dinger Tuesday boost over on FanDuel. Get around 177 to 1 odds. I'm out of here. Bye, guys.
That'll do it for today's episode of Payoff Pitch. Thanks for tuning in. If you'd like to tail some of the bets from today's episode, look for the quick slip links in the episode description. Don't forget to download the free award-winning Action Network app and leave us that 5-star rating and review wherever you listen to your podcasts. Also, check out the Action Network Discord. There's a link in the episode description of this podcast. We will be back on Friday for more MLB best bets. For Kyle Murray, Grant Neiffer, I'm Collin Whitchurch. Thanks for listening to Payoff Pitch, Action Network's MLB betting podcast, and good luck with all your bets.